Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a headline that, let's be honest, sent a bit of a panic through the tech and financial worlds. It's a claim that's been used as the ultimate proof that the big AI bubble is finally about to pop. Okay, let's get right into it. 95%. That's the staggering failure rate we're hearing about for corporate AI pilots. This number, it comes from a widely shared MIT report, and it definitely spooked investors and gave the doubters a whole lot of ammunition. I mean, you couldn't have timed this headline bomb better to create a stir. But here's the thing. Anyone making big bets or major decisions based on this one number really needs to look a lot closer at where it actually came from. So yeah, let's put on our detective hats. We're going to go under the hood of this study to figure out how in the world they landed on such a dramatic conclusion. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because when you start to look at the foundation of the report, the methodology is, well, let's just say it's a little shaky for something that caused such a huge ripple. And right here, you can see just how flimsy that foundation really is. The entire conclusion, it's based on just 52 interviews. 52. And get this, their definition of success was basically, did the company shout about it in a press release? If they didn't publicly announce it, it was counted as a failure. That's a stretch. And here's another huge red flag. The report claims half of all generative AI budgets are going to sales and marketing. Anyone who's actually in this space knows that's kind of nuts. It just doesn't reflect what's really happening. It pretty much screams that their tiny sample size was way skewed towards those specific departments. But here's the craziest part. Buried inside that exact same study is the real story. You know, the one the headlines totally ignored. And honestly, it points to a completely different conclusion. So, this is the critical twist, right? The report isn't saying AI is worthless, not at all. What it's really saying is that the value just isn't showing up on the company's official balance sheet. Instead, it's going directly into the hands of the employees themselves. They have a great name for this, actually. They call it the shadow AI economy. And it's exactly what it sounds like. This massive, hidden wave of productivity happening just under the surface, where people are using their own tools to get their jobs done better and faster, totally separate from some official company project. And look, the numbers here tell the whole story. The report found that while maybe only 40% of companies had official subscriptions to these models, a whopping 90% of their employees were already using these tools all the time, on their own. Okay, so if the tech is obviously valuable enough for employees to use it on their own, why are the official company projects failing? Well, it turns out it's not the code, it's the conference room. The problem isn't the AI, it's the organization. In fact, the study's own head of research breaks it down like this, a 4-to-1 split. 80% of these pilot failures, they're coming from organizational issues, people problems, strategy, culture. Only about 20% are because the technology itself actually didn't work. And this list probably looks familiar to a lot of you, right? These are the classic roadblocks for any big change. It's not just one thing, it's a whole mess of culture, process, and politics. Everything from the CEO not being fully on board, down to messy data, or nobody even knowing who owns the project. Now compare that to the actual tech problems. Yeah, they're real. Sometimes a new platform won't work with your old systems, or a startup promises the moon and underdelivers. But these are usually fixable things. They are not the main reason these projects are stalling. And here's something that's a huge factor in all this. People know what good AI looks like now. They're using the latest and greatest stuff at home for free, right? Then they get to work and the company hands them this locked down, watered down, kind of neutered version. Of course they're going to be frustrated. So when you put all this together, the organizational chaos, the employee frustration, it leads you to a really important idea. Maybe we're thinking about failure completely wrong here. Which brings us to this kind of counterintuitive but really powerful question. What if seeing some of these pilots fail isn't a bad thing? What if it's actually a sign of a healthy, innovative company? I mean, think about it. If 100% of your AI experiments are succeeding, you're probably not experimenting enough. You're playing it way too safe. And with a technology this transformative, playing it safe is actually the biggest risk you can take. So the big takeaway here really has very little to do with the AI itself. The real challenge isn't the technology. It's about building an organization that's actually ready for it. It's a human problem, not a technical one. And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about in your own world. Is your organization just focused on buying the next shiny AI tool? Or is it doing the really hard work of building a culture that's ready to embrace what's coming?